My dad accused me of taking $20,000 from his safe when I was 19 and cut me off from the family completely, telling everyone I was a thief. 10 years later, while fixing up his basement, my brother suddenly found the cash hidden behind a wall panel with a note in Dad's own writing from when he hid it during his divorce. Now Dad wants to move on from this, but I won't even call him back. I spent a decade branded a thief by my own father, banished from my family. But the day the money finally reappeared, I realized the real betrayal had been hiding in plain sight for far too long. I was only 19 then, still young enough to believe family meant something unbreakable. But our house in Portland, Oregon, already felt like a powder keg, constantly on the verge of exploding. My name is Ethan, and I'm 29 now. This whole mess started a decade ago. I was still living at home, still so naive, believing family would always have your back. We lived in a typical suburban neighborhood, the kind where smiles were more habit than warmth. Our house felt less like a home and more like a battlefield. My parents had been married 22 years, but the last 5 were just endless, simmering arguments. I'd fall asleep with earbuds in, trying to drown out the constant tension in the air. My dad, John, was always intense. Not violent, but stern, like everything was a test you could fail. He had this permanent scowl, and even breathing too loud could earn you a lecture. Money was sacred to him, and so was loyalty, his version of it, anyway. He never let Alex, my older brother, or me forget his sacrifices. My mom, Diane, was the buffer, not weak, just utterly exhausted from years of playing peacemaker. Alex, 2 years my senior, was the golden child, football captain, scholarship student, charming. He could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, decent grades, part-time at a bookstore, kept to myself. I never caused trouble, but I wasn't impressive. Then came the day everything shattered. Early spring, a week after my 19th birthday. I walked in from my bookstore shift to find my dad, John, pacing the kitchen, jaw clenched, eyes wild. "Where is it?" he barked. I blinked. "Where's what?" "My cash. The $20,000 from the safe. It's gone." I thought he was joking. 20 grand? I'd never seen that much money. He lunged closer. "Don't play dumb. I know it was you. You're the only one who knew the combination." I was stunned. I had no idea the money was even there, let alone missing. "I didn't take anything, Dad, I swear." He didn't hesitate. Liar. The word cut deep. Not because it was new, but because this time, in his eyes, I saw it. He truly believed it. Mom, Diane, rushed in, panicked. "He stole $20,000, John stated, pointing at me like I was a criminal." "What?" "Ethan would never," she cried. "Don't defend him, Diane. The money's gone, he had access. Alex showed up, called home, I guess." He glanced between us, confused, then just stood by Dad, silent, with that skeptical look he always saved for me. I pleaded, offered to let them search everything. It didn't matter. Dad had decided. Mom just looked defeated, like something inside her had finally broken. Alex's silence was the worst part. That night, Dad told me to pack up. I was out. No welcome under his roof. I had nowhere, literally nowhere. My savings were nothing, I hadn't even started college. But it didn't matter. Within 24 hours, I was gone. The first 2 weeks, I crashed on a coworker's couch, fighting back tears every time I checked my phone. Not for Dad's apology, I knew that wouldn't come, but for Mom, for Alex. Nothing. No one reached out. I was a ghost. Then the whispers started. "I heard you stole from your dad. What happened with the money? I didn't think you were like that." He hadn't just kicked me out, he'd scorched the earth behind me. Every holiday, every family gathering, I was the invisible presence, spoken of only with a sad shake of the head, a story about my different path. I tried to move on, truly. I worked, saved, went to community college, then a state university, got a degree in digital media. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I built a life, made friends, learned to carry the weight of being the family disappointment. But the ache never fully left. Seeing photos of Alex getting engaged, or family gatherings online, always missing one face, it would hit me, the unfairness, the deep betrayal. Branded a thief by my own father, and no one, not one person, looked deeper. Then, 10 years later, the truth finally clawed its way out. Not from Dad, not from some grand confession. It came from a damn wall panel in the basement. Alex and his wife, Sarah, had moved in while their new house was built. Renovating the basement, he found it, an old, dusty envelope tucked behind a panel. Inside? The full $20,000. And a note, in Dad's handwriting, for safekeeping until the divorce is finalized. Hide well, don't trust anyone, not even Diane. Alex called me that day. I hadn't spoken to him in 7 years. Seeing his name on my phone, my stomach dropped. I almost didn't answer. He told me what he'd found, read the note. A long silence. So, I wasn't lying after all, I finally managed. He let out a breath, like he'd been holding it for a decade. No, you weren't. Then, the real shock, Dad wants to talk. He says he wants to move past this. Everything crashed back, the accusation, the silence, the years of being erased. I didn't answer him right away. I knew this wouldn't be simple. That was when the real story truly began. After I hung up, I sat in my dark apartment for an hour, unmoving. Just me, my thoughts, and a tidal wave of emotions, rage, vindication, confusion. But mostly, a hollow ache. I wasn't celebrating being right. I was mourning that it took 10 years for anyone to care. Dad wants to talk. Like nothing happened. Alex's words echoed. I didn't sleep. My mind replayed the cursed slideshow, Dad's finger in my face, Alex silently watching me pack, Mom refusing to meet my eyes as I walked out. The weeks of a silent phone. The family who never checked if I was okay. And now, he wanted to move past this. The next day, Mom called. Her voice. I hadn't heard it since a birthday card 5 years ago, no reply then, just silence. Now, suddenly, Ethan, she whispered, Alex told me what he found. We didn't know. I let the silence hang heavy. I should have believed you, she murmured. That didn't soothe. It was a shovel, digging up everything I'd buried. Her silence wasn't neutral, it was a choice. A choice to preserve Dad's ego over defending me. I lost 10 years of my family, I finally said, because no one believed me. I know, and I'm so sorry. Your father, he thought you'd been sneaking around. He was under a lot of stress from the divorce. I cut her off. Don't make excuses for him. A pause. He wants to apologize. Did he say that, or are you hoping I'll make it easier for everyone? She didn't answer. I didn't hang up, but I ended the call quickly. My mind spun. How do you even navigate this? There's no map for when your family suddenly remembers you exist. Days later, I ignored 2 calls from Alex, 1 from Dad. Then a text from Dad, I made mistakes. Let's talk, please. I stared at it. I wish I could say I didn't care, that I'd moved on. But that would be a lie. I cared too deeply. That text ripped open old wounds. A week later, I agreed to meet at a neutral cafe. Alex was there too. I hadn't seen them in almost a decade. Dad, John, looked older, thinner, lines around his eyes etched deep. Alex looked cautious. They both stood when I walked in, unsure whether to hug or shake hands. I just sat. You look well, Dad cleared his throat. I said nothing. I know I don't deserve this, but I'd like to say I'm sorry. His voice was tight, rehearsed. I finally met his gaze. Sorry for what? He blinked. For accusing you, for throwing you out. For not believing you. That's a start, I said, but it's not everything, is it? Alex shifted uncomfortably. Dad exhaled slowly. I was going through a lot back then. Your mother and I. Stop, I cut in sharply. Don't blame the divorce. You told everyone I was a thief. You burned every bridge. I didn't just lose a home, I lost my entire family. John stared at the table. I thought you'd taken the money, he said. I panicked. I wanted someone to blame. So, you picked your son. You picked the one who wasn't Alex, I stated. He muttered, it was the first time he'd admitted it. The golden child. The quiet one. It had always been that way. Alex leaned forward. I should have said something. I knew it didn't make sense. You never lied. Then why didn't you defend me? I asked. He looked ashamed. Because it was easier not to. Dad had made up his mind, and I didn't want to be next. Easier. That word hit me like a slap. Easier to abandon me than risk their own comfort. Easier to let me carry the weight than confront the dictator. Dad finally looked up. I know I messed up, but I want to fix this. I stared at his pleading eyes. You didn't just mess up, I said slowly, you ruined my life for years. You told every cousin, aunt, friend, and neighbor that I was a criminal. You never once questioned if you were wrong. He nodded. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if I have to. Like it was a check he could write. I didn't answer. I got up, said I needed time, and left. But the story was far from over. 2 weeks later, I learned something that pushed everything past the point of no return. I was having lunch with my cousin Chloe, one of the few family members who'd occasionally messaged me over the years. She'd heard about the basement discovery. It was the first time I'd seen her in person since I was 19. Mid-meal, she said something that made my blood run cold. You know, your dad told everyone he filed a police report back then. I froze. He what? Yeah, she frowned. He said he had to report the theft for insurance. That you were under investigation. My mom, Diane, had apparently freaked out, saying my name would be blacklisted. I stared, my hands numb. A police report? I knew nothing about one. Back home, I called the precinct, requested records. And there it was. A report filed under my name, listing me as the primary suspect in a domestic theft of $20,000. Signed by my father. I wasn't charged, no evidence, but it was there, a silent shadow. It explained the denied scholarships, the jobs that never called back, the landlord who ghosted me after a background check. He hadn't just thrown me out. He'd branded me. Never told me, never apologized, never rescinded it. The next time he called, I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail, annoyingly casual, talking about a family dinner with Alex and Sarah, how Mom, Diane, was excited. I sat there, seething. The man who'd destroyed my reputation, left me alone, lied about me to everyone, now playing wholesome family. But he didn't know about the report. He didn't know I was already calling lawyers. This time, I'd be the one writing the story. No screaming, no begging. Just quiet, strategic, devastating action. If they thought 10 years of silence was painful, they were about to learn what real consequences felt like. That report, it changed everything. Not just anger, though there was plenty. A deeper realization. For a decade, I thought the worst was the exile, the cold shoulders. Now I knew he'd planted a legal stain on my name, a silent shadow following me through every application, every rental agreement. Every memory came into focus, the internship I never heard back from, the apartment suddenly unavailable. It all connected. I hadn't just been wronged. I had been sabotaged. The next morning, I printed the police report, laid it on my kitchen table. Surreal. My name, listed as a suspect, my father's signature, a final stamp of betrayal. No charges, no follow-up, just that accusation, lodged deep in the system like a splinter. This wouldn't be my ending. I wouldn't let a decade of silence and sabotage define me. But I needed to be strategic. My emotions couldn't steer the wheel again. This time, I'd move carefully, quietly, like he did. I ran every background check I could on myself. The report appeared every single time. No criminal record, just a flag for a filed, uncharged theft case. I found a lawyer through a friend. She was sharp, calm. "This will take time," she said, "but it's not irreversible." She explained expungement, sealing the report, even a defamation case. The emotional damage was real, provable. In parallel, I started journaling. Not for a lawsuit, but for me. The night I was kicked out, the months on a friend's couch, the job interviews, the lonely Christmas Eves. It was awkward at first, then cathartic, then addictive. That journal, I didn't know it then, would become something far bigger. Months passed. I focused on rebuilding my name, yes, but more importantly, my sense of self. I poured into work, freelancing as a video editor. The work was inconsistent, but I felt useful. I rebranded, worked nights, weekends, said yes to everything. That summer, a documentary project on restorative justice resonated deeply. Watching people heal, confront their past, reclaim power, it hit home. I edited it with everything I had. Soon, I had a waiting list. My lawyer made steady progress. We got the full police report. It took weeks. And there it was, a handwritten note from my father. "Ethan is a troubled kid. He's been acting out. This isn't the first time. I'm worried about what else he might do." My hands shook. He hadn't just accused me, he painted me as dangerous to the police, to the system. No history of arrests, no violence, not even a late homework assignment. He invented a narrative, put it in writing, and sent it to the authorities. Rewriting my biography out of spite. My lawyer read it. "This changes things," she said, folding her arms. I kept rebuilding. A better apartment, entirely mine. I adopted Leo, a scrappy mutt who grounded me every morning on our park walks. My social life grew, slowly. I reconnected with old friends, said yes to dinners, movies, weekend trips. The loneliness thinned, replaced by warmth. Trusting was hard, but I was trying. Professionally, things took off. My editing business grew, a long-term retainer client gave me stable income. And then, one night, Alex messaged me a screenshot of Dad's Facebook post. Long, overly sentimental, full of half-truths. All about forgiveness, healing family bonds, honest conversations. It ended with a childhood photo of us laughing. I felt sick. He wasn't reaching out to me, he was performing for an audience, managing optics. Comments flowed, "So glad you're reconnecting, family is everything." That familiar feeling of being erased, rewritten. He wanted to be the repentant father, brave enough to own his mistakes. But he hadn't told the world the truth about the police report, the decade of abandonment, the smear campaign. He wanted redemption without accountability. That was it. I couldn't let this go quietly. Not vindictive, but not silent. I pulled out my journal and started typing, pouring every memory into a document. Dates, details, screenshots, methodical. I didn't know where it would go, but writing it made me feel strong. I realized he thought I was still 19, quiet, scared to rock the boat. I wasn't. He thought his Facebook post would clean the slate. But I had built something stronger than approval. I had rebuilt myself, and soon I would decide what to do with the truth. Justice wasn't just about being believed. It was about being heard. And he was going to hear every word. I didn't write it to go viral. It was just for me, a truth I needed to exhale. But as I edited, scrolling through pages of dates, screenshots, and memories, it became more than a rant. A record. A decade of documented silence. The truth was heavy enough. I titled it simply, 10 years ago, my father accused me of stealing $20,000. This week, my brother found the money behind a wall. I didn't post it yet. But it sat there, saved in 3 places. I was in control now. Before any moves, I needed to understand what my father had been doing all these years. He'd had a decade to shape the narrative, and his Facebook post was just the start of his redemption arc. I started asking around. Chloe, my cousin, was cautious at first. Once I promised to keep her name private, she opened up. After you left, he told everyone it was too painful to talk about, she said. He framed it like you went off the rails, refused to admit what you did. Then he leaned into the idea you were estranged by choice. By choice? I asked, stunned. So, I was the villain who left? Yeah, she said gently, he made it sound like you just didn't want anything to do with us. The raw pain of exile, accusation, abandonment, rewritten as teenage rebellion. But you believed me, I said quietly. Chloe smiled sadly. I always thought something didn't add up. But your dad made it clear asking questions wasn't welcome. No one wanted to take sides. That phrase again. No one wanted to take sides. For 10 years, they chose neutrality. And in doing so, they chose him. But I wasn't alone anymore. I reached out to more people, old family friends, a former neighbor, even my high school counselor, Ms. Jenkins. A pattern emerged. Dad hadn't just accused me, he'd waged a full campaign. He told neighbors I'd been stealing for years, told my uncle I had a secret drug problem, told a church friend I'd stolen from Mom's purse at 16, none of it true. Each lie was different, but all painted me as dangerous, dishonest, untrustworthy. He never corrected a single one. Never came clean. Never took down the report. He just shifted from defense to damage control. That's when it hit me, he didn't regret what he did. He regretted being caught. The family dinner, the Facebook post, the sudden warmth, it wasn't about healing. It was about optics. He wanted to control the fallout. He knew Alex had told me. He knew the report still existed. His carefully built narrative was cracking. And now, I held the hammer. I began to plan. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation. That wasn't his style. He moved in whispers, rumors. So, I beat him at his own game. First, legal. My lawyer and I filed a petition to seal the police report. Alex was willing to sign a sworn statement about finding the money and note. Second, personal. I drafted a factual letter to the family, the accusation, the report, the consequences, with photos of the note. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm writing it because for 10 years, I lived with the consequences of a lie. I deserve the right to tell the truth. I didn't send it yet. The third step, the most important, was the setup. I needed a public gathering. Alex and Sarah's baby shower, for their first child, was the perfect opportunity. The whole extended family was invited, even me. I almost declined, not wanting to taint their moment. But Alex insisted. You should be there. It's your family. I agreed, on one condition, Dad wouldn't be warned. Alex hesitated. Are you planning something? I'm planning the truth, I said. The baby shower was a picnic at a local park. People I hadn't seen since I was a teenager, people who still saw me like a ghost. This was it. I printed 25 copies of my letter, tucked them into envelopes marked, "Please read before leaving." I showed up, smiled, congratulated Sarah, gave my gift. Dad was there, watching me with a strange, nervous smile. Near the end, as people gathered their things, I quietly handed out the envelopes, one per family. "Take this with you. Please read it when you have time." Some opened them immediately. The ripple started. Eyes widened, mouths dropped. They looked from the paper to Dad, then back to me. He saw it. He moved fast. "What did you do?" he hissed, jaw tight. I told the truth. "This is a private matter." "No," I said. "You made it public the moment you told everyone I was a thief. You're trying to destroy this family." "No, I'm reclaiming my name." He looked like he wanted to explode, but all those eyes on him stopped him. For once, he was under scrutiny. I left soon after, calm, steady. That night, my inbox exploded. Apologies, shocked questions, silent hearts. Every single one said, I had no idea. And that was the point. Not revenge, not rage. Recognition. The truth was out, but the fallout was still coming. And I wasn't done yet. The baby shower changed everything. Not with a bang, but a ripple. One envelope, one conversation. The truth spread through Dad's carefully built ecosystem, neighbors, old friends, his church group. Everyone who heard his version, that I was a selfish, ungrateful son, now had mine, with receipts. But I wasn't done. Emotional vindication was healing, but my name, legally and professionally, was still stained. My lawyer tracked how that sealed police report quietly sabotaged my opportunities, internships, housing. A media company admitted a background check flag stopped my application 5 years prior. We filed to expunge the report. That required testimony, documentation, and a letter from my father, recanting his accusation. I knew he wouldn't give it willingly. But I had a plan. The calls flooded in. Aunt Susan, Cousin Mark, David, a family friend. Most were stunned, some apologetic, others defensive of their own silence. "Your dad never mentioned a note," one said. "He told us you confessed." That hit me hard. I hadn't just been accused, I'd been fictionalized. My father had written a version of me that didn't exist, a dishonest, manipulative boy who admitted to theft and stormed off. I stared at that message. Then I knew. I drafted one final message, not to my family, but to my father. A simple email, no emotion. Subject, next steps. "Dad, you know what you did, and now so does everyone else. But this isn't over. Attached is a formal retraction of your 2015 accusation, including the note. We'll submit this with the motion to have the police report sealed. This is the bare minimum. Refuse, and we proceed without your cooperation, including a public defamation case. My lawyer and I have enough evidence to make a very strong case. If this goes to court, details become public record. I don't want that, but I won't be your ghost anymore. 5 business days to respond." I didn't expect a reply, but 3 days later, a single PDF arrived. Signed, dated. No apology, but it was done. We submitted the retraction. Within 3 weeks, the report was permanently sealed. Every trace scrubbed. Legally, professionally, digitally, it no longer existed. With that, I had everything I needed. But I wasn't finished yet. The last part of my plan was quiet, intentional, permanent. I had rebuilt my life, career, identity. Now, I wanted to use my voice. I launched a podcast. Just a small one, me, a mic, and real stories. The first episode, The Son Who Was Erased. I didn't use names. I didn't need to. I told my story. From the accusation, to the couch, to Leo, to the wall panel. Every beat. Not to shame, but to show what it's like to be cut from your family without a second thought. It went viral, slowly. People wrote in with their own stories. Some reached out to siblings after years. Others finally stood up to manipulative parents. I hadn't meant to become a voice for others, but I had. And that became the final act of my revenge, being heard. Not as a victim, but as a man who rebuilt from ashes, turning betrayal into something meaningful. Dad never responded. But I heard through the grapevine his church quietly removed him from committees, family friends stopped calling. His name wasn't quite as golden. He didn't lose everything, but he lost control. For him, that's worse than losing money. I saw him once more, months later, in a grocery store. Our eyes met. He gave a faint nod. I didn't nod back. I turned, paid, and walked out into the bright afternoon without looking back. I didn't need anything else. Not his guilt, not his apology, not even his silence. Because I had something stronger, my truth, my life. What would you have done to reclaim your name?